Hi, it's Thursday evening in the UK, and this is Andy XL with another NFXL podcast. Starting off my look at the Week 8 games. So I'll call this part one of my Week 8 preview, but it's only going to look at the Thursday night game because there's no London game or international game as there has been in recent weeks. So I'll just concentrate on the Thursday night game. So where are we as it stands here? There's six teams on bye this week. That means there's just 13 games to preview. And like I say, I'm just going to cover the first one off in this. And it's to evaluate who may be on the move in the races for titles and or the postseason. In the AFC, Jacksonville and Las Vegas get the Raiders get the week off. And in the NFC, Detroit, the LA Rams, Seattle and Arizona take a break. First of all, let me tell you how my predictions went last week. I correctly predicted 10 of 15 results. Um, was going really well until the later games, and then they went awry for me. So for the season, I'm now at 66%, which is below where I want to be. I want to be in the 70-75% area. Um, so with 13 games this week, let's go for double figures again here, and that will move me up into that area. So let's have a look at the Thursday night game. Minnesota Vikings at the Los Angeles Chargers. Both teams come into this game having lost in week 7. In doing so, the Chargers no longer lead the AFC West and they're now sixth in the conference standings. For the Vikings, their loss drops them to last in the NFC North and 12th in the conference standings. So both teams certainly need a win here, but the Vikings need for a win is more pressing, as both teams probably need 10 wins to make the postseason. So falling to 3-4 would mean they go seven. They would need to go 7-3 from week 9 onwards. So really, they're starting to get towards must-win territory now um, in that uber tough NFC. Which, yeah, I was looking at it the other day, and if the Lions had lost this week, they'd have been out of a playoff place. And when you consider the Detroit Lions would be out of a playoff place when they're one of the best teams in football, that shows you how tough the NFC is. But they didn't lose, but that's just telling you that how hard a slope Minnesota have got to go up. So coming back to the Chargers, pass offense and defense have been their strengths this season. They're decent in run defense, but their rush offense has really suffered since losing Najee Harris and Amarian Hampton to injury, which is hardly surprising, especially seeing as the O-line's been beat up as well. The Vikings will have Carson Wentz at quarterback again for this one, and are ranked just below midway in the league for pass and rush offense. Although you still feel the onus is on the passing game for them to beat good teams like the Chargers. Defensively, again, they're ranked below midway for rush defense, but are above average for pass defense, and will need to be against Justin Herbert and the Chargers receivers. With both teams likely to lean on their pass offense in this game against good or better pass defenses, that will likely be the decisive area in this game, is whose pass offense gets going most. Pass protection will therefore be a big factor. Justin Herbert has been sacked 20 times behind a weakened O-line. The Vikings having similar issues in this area, having allowed their quarterback to be sacked 23 times. So can either of these O-lines do better in week 8? If they do, they'll go a long way to helping that passing game. In fantasy terms, opposing running backs have done fairly well against the Chargers, so there's hope for Jordan Mason owners in fantasy this week, and he might be worth a pick. Both teams have been tough on opposing tight ends, so if you've got TJ Hawkinson or the rookie who's beginning to emerge, Rondé Gadsden, just beware that it's been tough sledding for tight ends against these teams this season. And a similar picture emerges for opposing wide receivers. And with shared wealth on both teams amongst their wide receiver core, maybe leaning on this week will not go that well either. You know, you can't Justin Jefferson. You've obviously got to play him every week. Lad McConkey, you've got to play him every week. But all I'm saying is they might not score as well as you would hope for. As a result, you'll be not surprised to know that quarterbacks have not scored highly against either of these teams too. So if we put all of that information together, a picture emerges of pass rushes getting to the opposing quarterbacks and limiting their respective passing games, and the Vikings having some joy on the ground. When we look at the pass rushing units, which seem to be key here, the Chargers have notched 17 sacks and 36 quarterback hits, whilst the Vikings have 16 sacks and 27 quarterback hits, which gives an edge to the Chargers, with Tuli Tui Peloto being a huge factor for the Chargers with 5 sacks and 11 hits to his name so far this season. So he's going to be a key figure in this game. If he starts getting Carson Wentz on a regular basis along with his colleagues, it could be a tough night. Both defenses could be worth a fantasy start here. I know there might be might be quite a few bit of yardage going around, but both teams are pretty good in red zone defense. So maybe there won't be as many scores as that. And for both defenses, sacks and possible interceptions could be in the agenda here. And like I said earlier, Jordan Mason may be worth a look too. And maybe Will Reichard as a fantasy kicker, as I can see the Chargers D standing up in the red zone. As I've said, both teams are pretty good in the red zone. But I think the Chargers might do more so and limit the Vikings to field goals. So Reichard might be worth a look there. All of which tells me this is going to be a close call. But I'm going to take the Chargers to win this at home. But just, and I mean really just. I've got it as 24-23 is my prediction. So that will start Thursday night off, or this week off, with an absolute thriller between two really good teams that are probably lower in the standings than they should be. If they're sort of teams, if they got healthier and got their O line sorted out, the Chargers got their running backs back, Vikings get going on their passing game once they've got the O line sorted out, then both these teams are the sort of teams that, if they make the postseason, could be really dangerous when they get there. So that's Thursday night looked at. Part 2, I'll come back and look at as many of the Sunday games as I can do. If I can do all of them in one sweep, I will do, and then I'll just leave the Monday night game for the last bit. So wait for my part 2 of my week 8 preview. Probably Sunday morning, Sunday morning UK time, or Sunday lunchtime. So yeah, sometime around there. So get up Sunday morning if you're in the States and you can watch it. All right, see you soon.